Hey, what's going on, Average Joe readers out there? And welcome to Average Joe's Library, or welcome back if you have listened or tuned in before. Thank you. And or if you haven't, then well, welcome. If you've been checking out my videos, please give me a like and subscribe. That really helps me out and makes me, feel like I'm actually doing something. So today I wanted to talk about friendships and friendships in books. Sometimes the best parts about the books that we read and some of the best stories and fantasy works out there, whether well, it doesn't matter if it's fantasy or otherwise, are the friendships and the camaraderie and the connections that you build with the story and within the characters within the story. So it's not enough to, we love connecting with the characters in the books in general, like us connecting with them, but it's really great to see the connections and going with them throughout the story of the characters within the book. And some of my favorite series out there, or books, even standalones out there, have these really awesome friendships, and usually they're really funny. There's some banter back and forth. They You can really relate to them because you have your group of friends that you're a little bit rough with, whether you're bagging on each other, making fun of, and supporting each other and all that stuff. So friendships, I think, are a really quick way for me to really connect with and enjoy a book. And I think that goes the same with a lot of other people because even if the plot or the story isn't too spectacular, if the friends are doing something awesome and just you're enjoying what they're going through, and them interacting with each other, people will probably stick around for the book. And if that is on the backdrop of a really awesome series and world, then that's just a home run right there. So I'm going to talk about some of my favorite friendships in some of the series and books that I have read. And I would also like to revisit this in the future for any other great camaraderies and friendships that I encounter later on. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I am so happy because I get to still read. I'm only in the middle of reading this series and this duo, and I get to read a whole bunch more books with them. And that is Royce and Hadrian, the Rhaenyra guys from Michael J. Sullivan's Rhaenyra Chronicles and Revelations. These two are awesome. I think everybody that has read the series loves Royce and Hadrian. The dynamic between them, you can just. I've read Revelations, not Chronicles, so I believe Chronicles is like how they met, and Revelations is them, now or whatever. You can read them in whatever order you want. That's how he kind of intended it. But they are really fun to go with. They're two totally different personalities that just happen to work for each other. And Royce is this, really dark, mysterious, silent thief type person, and Hadrian is kind of a typical knight, valiant, larger swordsman, kind of the front man to what they do, and they balance each other so well, and how they're going and get into these sticky situations and the snark that comes between them when they get into bad situations, or when one of them has a bad idea, or it gets to points where there'll be something will happen and they're doing something, and then one of them will just be like, nope, not another word, I know what you're going to say. It's really good to read. I really enjoy these two, and it makes me, even during the slower moments of those books, which sometimes they're a little bit longer, it's still fantastic to read because you just care about them so much. Next one is from the Red Queen's War trilogy by Mark Lawrence, and that is Snorri and Prince Jalen. So Prince Jalen is an insufferable prince, stuck up, spoiled, and Snorri is a Viking. He's a very strong, silent type, giant warrior, and the dynamic here reminds me of Emperor's New Groove. If you are familiar with that, if you like Emperor's New Groove, this one really reminds me of it, except instead of the farmer joining up with the prince, it's a Viking. And chaos ensues. They're pursued. There's battles. There's fighting. There's banter. Jalen gets himself into a lot of trouble. He drinks. He tries to get with women. Snorri's just trying to do a job, and there's definitely moments back and forth that there are some funny moments. Red King's War goes along with side by side with the Prince of Thorns series, And so if you like that world, but this one's has a bit more humor to it, a little bit lower light side, lighthearted on the side. Jalen got at times got old, got a bit, not great to read from, but for the most part, especially the first book, they were a lot of fun to read about. The next one I'll go with, it might not be as strong as some people might like, but I like Wax and Wayne, and from Mistborn Era 2. Wayne seems to be hit or miss with a lot of people. He's either people don't like him, he's annoying, he's just weird, or he's really funny and enjoyable. I love him. I think he's hilarious. He's a really, really weird guy. And the balance of Wax is as vanilla as they come. He's kind of boring, but their dynamic just works because Wayne is so weird. And there's times where how they do things, and when Wayne is off doing something or when he's about to do something, Wax kind of helps provide context and enlightens what is going on with Wayne and why he's the way it is, and then their banter back and forth, and even like Wayne complaining about Wax when you're in his head, when you're from his POV. Wayne complaining about Wax and like the ridiculous thoughts he has toward him, and um, how he messes with him, and all of these things. It's really funny. I enjoy Wax a lot. I think it's a lot of you can't take him too seriously. He's fun and he's weird. Next, I don't think anybody who's read the series could disagree with the Great Coats, Brosti, Kest, and Falkio. You're with them through the entire 4 book series. At times, you might lose one of them for a little bit, but they are hilarious. Falkio is the just valiant one. Kest is the great swordsman who's just very dry. He doesn't joke. He's just very technical. He's just Kest. And then Brosti is a jokester, a prankster. He's always complaining or joking or trying to do something. He just wants to go to a tavern and have a drink. And the dynamic of how they go through things and get in bad situations. And Kest is still just, no matter how bad the situation, Kest is still just like, yep, this is bad. This is what's going to happen. Brosti's freaking out. And Falkio is just trying to figure out how to get him through. So their dynamic is hilarious and enjoyable. Lots of laugh out loud, funny moments. They grow as well throughout the series, so it's not always the same thing. Um, Kind of what you get in book one is similar to what you get through the rest, but it's still you grow with them, and uh, there's almost it becomes inside jokes with some of them. Brosty saying the wrong word, or Kess just automatically doing something for the first time great, and it being hilarious because Brosty gets mad about it, and the like. So those three are really fun to read about. So up until this point, all of the ones that I have mentioned have been like POV main focus characters, but these next ones are secondary characters. They pop up several times. They pop up frequently, and they're through the entire series. And that's Faithful and the Fallen, and that is Dath and Feral. And I love these two because it's again the very big, strong, noble type, and then the kind of smaller Joker who's there and has funny moments and little snarky comments at times. But I think if John Gwynn ever goes back to Faithful and the Fallen for like a standalone, he's put this out on Twitter before. I think a Dath and Farrell standalone book would be fantastic. It would be really cool too because those two they're together the entire series. They just do. I think they would be really fun because you have the big strong Warhammer axe guy and then the archer who's just kind of around, and the relationships, even that like them trying to get girls and get women, because when you start the series they're like 13, 14, or 15 years old. They're really young, and it goes through the series as a couple of years, so now they're older, and them trying to get with women or actually getting with women is also really funny too, like them just failing and interacting with each other and Corbin and that group. They're a lot of fun, and I would honestly, me highlighting them, I just would like to read more from them. Next is Harry Dresden and Bob the Skull. These two are unique because Bob is kind of the property of, or Harry. Harry kind of owns Bob. I don't know how that works, but the skull belongs to him. So Bob kind of works for Harry. Um, but the dynamic of them is really funny because whenever Harry goes to Bob, it's usually when he needs something, when he needs some help, some advice, figure out a problem, and he's always tired and strung out. And Bob's just a 300-400-year-old skull that wants to be snarky and talk to and just he also just wants to get some freedom for 24 hours to go do dirty things and mischievous things. So those two together are really funny because Bob kind of likes to mess with Harry, and Harry's sarcastic and dry on his own, but Bob is just one ups him even more. With that, his humor is it's really good. I love their dynamic. I love Bob. Next, we're going with the band from Kings of the Wild, and that would be Slowhand, Gabe, Ganeleon, Moog, and Metric. These five are hilarious, and their personalities all were really good to read from. Really awesome. You're in the POV of Slowhand Clay the entire time from the band, but how they interact and what they do is really funny. And it's I've used this example before, but it's like the movie Space Cowboys, where the old guys are getting back together. Now they're old. They used to be together when they were in their heyday. They split up for a long time, then they got back together, and like it's almost like they never miss a beat. They're just back with it where they were, either slinging insults, messing with each other, doing things that they were in the past, frustrating each other, all of those things. And you know, with a lot of these friendships, it's two people, sometimes three. But when you have five, how they interact just creates more layers to the friendship to read from. That is a list of some of my favorite friendships in fantasy. What are some of your friendships? I would love to read. I always love reading really great friendships, especially when they're funny, when they're just really enjoyable. So I'd love to know some really good friendships that you have read from, that you would recommend that maybe weren't on this list or that I didn't think of or haven't read. So what are some of yours? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to try and add them to my list, and let's talk about it some more there.